That's the one I gave out.
You're live.
Thank you, John. Welcome, everybody. I want to tell everybody here today we're televising live. The reason we're televising live is on our website for about 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We have had the model zoning code on our website. And there's probably been close to 50 people that have accessed that. And we put it on there because we want our residents to be aware of a number of things involving this Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. And what I'd like to start off with is I'd like to go around the corner. Ted, I'm going to start with you. And you can tell everybody who you are. We're going to move around. And then we're going to come back to you, Chris, and then you can give an overview of what the model zoning code is and what we've been doing for the past few months. Ted, you can introduce yourself, please.
Ted Abel, a council member.
My name is Chris Schneider. I work with Hamilton County. I am the community planning administrator.
My name is Macy Patton. I'm with Hamilton County. I'm an associate planner.
Mark Boswell, senior planner, Hamilton County Planning Info.
AJ Earlywine, I'm the intern from Hamilton County.
Mary Angeline, council member.
Sylvia Gary on the board of BZA in Cleves.
Dawn Richardson, BZA.
Edward Leishman, zoning code official.
Chuck Burkholz, mayor. Chris, if you would please sort of give an overview, if you will, for the public.
Yeah, so I came to council probably October, maybe September of 2025, and kind of gave an update on this process. But we've been working with Cleves and other communities in Hamilton County, trying to update zoning codes, which have been outdated. The Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, identified that a lot of communities in Hamilton County have really old and outdated zoning codes that no longer work for them. And they decided to hire a consultant and create what we've been calling a model zoning code. That model zoning code is very robust and includes lots of different things that are covered under old codes, but also newer items such as electric vehicle charging stations, food trucks, short-term rentals, etc., that maybe aren't covered in zoning codes less than 15 years old. And so the village of Cleves was on that committee with the Regional Planning Commission. The former, I don't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but they were represented in that committee. We worked with the village of North Bend and the village of Fairfax, and they've gone through this process. And now we're working with Cleves, we're working with Woodlawn, as well as Green Township for a small portion of Green Township, not the entirety of the township, much larger. But basically, we're working with the communities who have shown that interest to update their current zoning codes to be a new, modern, easy to understand zoning code. Lots of graphics, lots of pictures, simplified text and terminology to help maybe the people of the public who don't use this code every day better understand how zoning works and what they're allowed and not allowed to do. I also like to make it clear that this isn't a code that is going to be or will be administered by Hamilton County. This committee, as you saw, has 2 council members, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and a staff member on it. We're just simply guiding Cleves through this process. The ultimate final zoning code will be recommended from this committee and eventually, hopefully, go for council for approval.
Thank you, Chris. And I'm going to give the public a little bit more background. Justin Habig, our village administrator, had another meeting today. We changed this meeting specifically because of the snowstorm. I didn't have time to get it posted publicly. I want to make sure we were in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And graciously, you guys moved your schedules to help us today. Justin will be reviewing this later today. Anybody can access this video straight off our website. And so it's open to everybody. We want to make sure everybody understands. I think one of the other things that I heard in our first meeting is people move from this community to that community. And the hope, I think, was that at least the books would look somewhat similar. and people that were moving from Cleves over to the east side of town would see something similar. It would be easier for them to access and understand if these model zoning codes at least were formulated and structured in a similar way. Now, I'm not going to put Hamilton County on the spot here because they had nothing to do with this. But one of the things I saw happen in North Bend was that they worked on this for a very long time, and right at the end, when it was being ready to be adopted, there were questions, and that held up the process. And holding up the process, I'm hoping we can avoid here in the village of Cleves. So going into our last council meeting, and we have two of our council members here, so they will remember this. There was a question about a deadline that our village administrator had set. And while I understood the deadline, they had not actually had enough information to understand the deadline. So I'm going to re-explain a few things here. Our village administrator has written a grant, and it's a planning grant for about, I think it's $30,000 if my memory serves me correctly. And that planning grant is going to be very important for taking a look at our rehabilitation district. I can't speak today, I apologize. And it's going to be called the Founders District. And that money will be used to address planning of hopefully economic development that's going to take place on South Miami in that area around the new library. So that grant, our village administrator would like to have in place along with this code so that when we're doing the planning, we have everything in place so that the money being spent on that with engineers and planning actually are in compliance with the new code. So there's a lot of work that's been put into this. Prior to that last meeting, I had spoken to Justin when he gave me the deadline that he's looking for, which is March 11th for passage by council. I was concerned that that was a very short time for it to actually be comprehended by the village council. Even though the Board of Zoning Appeals has sat in the meetings and they understand it, our council members do not yet. So I created a committee, and this is something for our Board of Zoning Appeals, because I know there were questions going into this. Why is Mr. Babel doing what Mr. Babel is doing as far as sort of going through very quickly and doing some comparisons? And the answer to that question is because I asked him to, okay? Why did I ask him to? Because we created a new committee called Planning and Zoning. And I have appointed council members to be on that. Mary Angeline is one, and Stephanie Myers is the other, and Ted is the chairperson for that. We certainly want our Board of Zoning Appeals members to be part of this process. And I think there was an impression that Ted was just discarding the work of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and that is not correct. I asked him because the council has to understand this, and Ted was my appointment to this committee, and he has had some significant health issues in his home, which has prevented him from being present. And he graciously accepted the chairmanship. And it is my expectation that the committee I appointed will meet multiple times. Okay. So we're not going to be doing monthly meetings. There may be weekly meetings. Okay. Which we will post. And what that committee will do is go through this manual, and it's not a short manual. I think there's maybe 185 pages, somewhere in that range, and hopefully help our council members not have to dive through everything. So we can narrow things down. That's what we're hoping to do. So, and that hopefully will answer questions that council members have, and when it comes to March 11th, they will come in fully briefed, understanding, questions answered ahead of time, so we can pass it. If that doesn't make any sense to anybody, I'll be glad to re-explain it, but that's the purpose of it. So, any questions from anybody? Well, thank you very much. With that said, we're gonna move on to your agenda, Chris, because we're sort of at the in process here. So I'm gonna turn that on over to you, and you go ahead and explain where we are, and what we're gonna work on today.
Yeah, so maybe those who aren't aware, this group has been meeting for a year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Same here.
A year, monthly meetings, usually the first, no, the last Tuesday of every
Yeah.
month. So we've had, I don't know, 10, 12 meetings over the last year. Everything, the first meeting started with, just reviewing what we're doing in the process and making sure Cleves is okay going through this process. Reviewing every section of the current code, signing signage, parking, reconciling the old code with the new code. And we today have gotten to a point where we have a draft. It's not a complete draft. It's not perfect yet, but we sent that out before the holidays to this committee for review and asked them to provide us with questions, comments, thoughts, what are we missing, what haven't we thought about, those kinds of things. And so that's where we are today, right? And Mr. Babel was kind enough to go through the code word for word. I don't know if everyone has had the opportunity to do that. But he provided us with, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 pages of comments. A lot of them questions, but valid questions that we tried to address. And so we passed around a document with some red text on it. This is,
I don't know where the rest of them are.
They might be here.
oh, there we go.
You didn't make any notes on, you just copied my original one.
We copied your original comments and then your needs to be quote staff recommendation.
Okay. So I need to get a copy of that.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just simply, he was kind enough to, and we're thankful as staff, we just want to say that. It's very helpful to have someone or multiple people, a committee like this, to go through this process and guide these decisions that are being made, ultimately made by the council, but being made at least for consideration right now. So, thank you for your hard work and explaining all of your comments.
It took a while.
It did. And it took us a little bit of time to go through them as well and try. If that's okay, and that's where we would like to start. We have another document here that came around. Did that come from you, Joe?
It did.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so,
That's yours?
Yes.
I have another.
so I think if it's okay, let's start with Ms.
I may be too much out of place here, but
Uh-huh.
you said something about the Founders District.
That's the
That's
business.
down there.
District in the Republic.
That's on South Miami.
And then what is this down here where it says neighborhood business district is gonna be? It used to be the historical business district, but now it's gonna be neighborhood business district.
Mayor, I think you're going way ahead of the game.
Okay,
Way ahead of the game.
okay,
This stuff that you're referring to, council already passed legislation
okay.
that addressed all of that. So right now, what we need to do is let us go through this.
Okay,
And I realize you haven't been here for all those other meetings.
right,
But I think the Board of Zoning Appeals and Justin, so you understand, Justin will be watching this, and whatever we talk about today, he's gonna have his input on it too. So, I wanna go back to your question, Chris.
Yes,
Guys, if we could please.
so not to go off track, but the revitalization district was a district passed by council several months back. The village has been awarded a grant, to do a planning study on that general boundary of the revitalization district. I think Justin's intending that planning study to provide guidance on what the zoning could look like for that district. So there's a little bit of I think that's what Justin's concern might be, is like, how do we have a new zoning code with a plan that might have recommendations for some zoning stuff? And I think him and I and us can have some discussion about what that looks like, and not putting the cart before the horse kind of situation. But I think, yeah, so that's kind of maybe adding a little detail to what you previously said, Mayor. I think we have two documents, that one that Mr. Battle put together, which is what I just passed around with red text on it, which is and then Ed sent around the second document. I think let's start with Mr. Battle, because we've had a chance to review that and we have some comments about those. And if we have time, at the very least, we'll provide a response to yours, Ed. Yeah. And we can email that out to the group. So you want us to just start at the top and go down, and or
No, go ahead and do what you're doing.
okay, we were literally just going to go right down the list of
And
comments.
that's the best way to go.
Okay.
So that way you're presenting a response to it. There's no sense of me doing what I'm doing and you respond.
Yeah. So we can start. We, as I said, went through every section of code and had lots of questions, and which is great. We'll just start part one, number one, right? I think the model version of this code, which is very overarching and is not finely detailed to the village of Cleves, uses the word community a lot, uses kind of generic language. I think the comment was, let's focus that in to say the village of Cleves, and we agree with that. That totally makes sense. So that we would edit, we would recommend as well. Let's see, part two. So number two there. I'll look at it. Maybe missing.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
on this?
absolutely.
Here it does say the Cleves model zoning code.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Well,
Yeah.
it does on the title of our page,
Yeah.
but within the document itself, it says like, the community shall consider this, or the community council shall consider this. And I think he's saying, and you should say the village of Cleves should consider this, or
I
should
think
do this, like that.
I agree.
So we can, that's an easy revision for us to work with. Okay.
Yeah, so, just a manual.
And then part number two, add a section. Okay.
So that was part, section 205 and 206, which define the district map and the district boundaries. From the current zoning manual of Cleves, we as staff, thought that was fine language to add.
What you're saying is the section zoning district established, all that's gonna be added into
Yeah,
this draft.
it's in the current version, the current zoning code, Cleves zoning code as of today, the one that you're currently using.
Our existing one.
Existing one, there you go.
And you're gonna add it.
We can add it in. We reviewed it and thought it's fine. It adds clarity to the model, so it's not something we had any issues over.
All of the black text is Ted's, all the red text is ours.
So on the next one, if I'm reading this correctly, is you're recommending that it not be added.
Correct.
So could you explain
Yep.
why?
So on page 36 and 37 of the current code, it outlines the process for zoning amendments or text amendments. The model code does have a standalone section, part 8, section D, which outlines that. And I think our review showed that the current process and the model process are pretty similar, if not the same. And so there's not a reason to add a whole section, in our opinion, if it's already being addressed in that part.
Now, I have a question for Mary over here. Mary, do you have a copy of the old code that you can compare this to or not?
The current code.
I'm sorry?
No.
The current.
The current, I'm sorry, well, the old code, that is the current.
I have the book that Ted just gave me.
That's just the new, that's the new one.
They don't have the old.
Okay. It might be beneficial after this meeting, to have Penny run a copy of that for you, so you can go back to look at it.
A lot of this document has references on it too. So Ted provided often what page number he was referring to in the current code. And then if we find that there's something similar to that in the model code, we also reference what section that belongs to in the zoning code. Probably.
So I don't know, I don't necessarily think, a decision on any of these has to be made like right this very second.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
So,
But I want her to be able to follow along. This is part of where our council's gonna be.
yeah, absolutely.
They're gonna be going, how do I understand this?
No, completely
And
understand.
those are valid questions.
Yep.
So, I think our model coding is still probably on the website somewhere. So you can access it that way, but it's easier if you got a hard copy. Okay, so we'll make sure Penny gets you that.
Sounds good.
Well, my point was we're going to go through each of these and give our recommendation, and if it makes sense, it makes sense today. If not, take this document and do a comparison on your own and think about it and talk about whether or not that's appropriate for
Sounds good.
Okay, are we done number 3 yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, we did.
That's
that.
the-
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
amendment,
Part 3, now part number 4, I'm sorry. Change the background color of the district titles to reflect what is on the zoning map, okay? And so we looked at this, there is a standard kind of, color scheme for zoning, meaning like residential is generally a shade of yellow, depending on the density requirement. Industrial is purple, commercial is red, that kind of thing. So we would recommend sticking with that kind of national standard in terms of colors on the map and making the model version consistent with that as well.
Would it be possible to change the colors on the zoning map? I just know from personal experience, when you look at the map and you're looking at yellow, when you go to section 3 here, I would be more in the direction of looking at yellow here.
Correct, and then it should match up. So you see residential is yellow, the commercial districts are kind of that right here, kind of the red.
I think he's referring to looking at the map and seeing that one of their residential districts is actually purple. And then they go to the map and they see that,
Right.
or sorry, they go to the zoning code and they see that they're thinking purple and then they're in the industrial
Right,
section.
that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, I think the conclusion that we kind of came to as staff was that the way that the current zoning map exists is not within that sort of color scheme of standard zoning colors. And it would be hard to
Change
take
the
those
zoning map.
colors over into the zoning code without additionally being confusing,
Yeah,
right?
like, for example, the two, single family residential districts, they're both yellow. Kind of confusing. You could-
Right, I'm just trying to make it easier to cross-reference the map in relationship to the color scheme that you have in the book.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Well, I'm just gonna make a comment from what I understand. What you're hoping for in the end is, once again, if you're living out in Montgomery and then you move to Cleves or vice versa, the colors are gonna be similar. The maps will look similar. So we really need to get away from the old map colors. That's what I think you're saying.
So there will be a new map associated with this. This is not a map amendment process. This is a text amendment process. So we don't have to go through that map process, but we can provide some graphic detail to the current map, which will align it to the model code. It's not changing anything.
Yeah.
The map, it still stays.
The map is the map and
It's just a color change, not a district.
right, it was just a suggestion.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not locked in stone on it.
Yes, and it's a national standard, so. Yeah, it's a kind of a national, I don't think it's the national standards. Someone in planning and
Somebody
boundaries.
higher than you.
Yeah. But here's the colors we're gonna use for residential. It's gonna be shades of yellow, so. Okay, number 5, add copies of the new zoning map. That way you can go. I so generally haven't included, we've always taken the stance that the map and the code, while they're definitely related to each other, they're two separate standalone documents. Because there's a process to revise and update the map. There's a completely different process to revise and update the text. So I think it's okay to include the map as an appendix to the zoning code, so for easy reference, but I think inserting it into the body of the work, if that makes sense, might cause a little confusion in terms of that aspect.
I just know it makes it easier.
It does.
If you got it where table 1 is.
Understood, yeah.
To cross
Instead
reference.
of flip back and forth, I understand. That we would recommend not inserting it into the actual body of the document, just for simplicity reasons. I think adding it to the end of the document or as an appendix. Totally fine.
Okay. You're looking at it as a logistics, and I'm looking at it as a practical.
It is a logistics thing. Could cause headaches in the future, potentially. But that's just our recommendation.
Okay.
Let's see, number 6. Add clarification with commercial industrial business.
These are,
Okay. So I think these are,
Chris, can I just stop before we go on? Because Mary had questions earlier.
yeah,
Are you clear on what they're talking about here, Mary? Because if you're not, you're gonna be one whose other council members are gonna come and talk to you.
Yeah,
So if there's something that you're not clear on, I think now's the time to address that.
I guess where is this area?
which one?
She doesn't have a map.
It's right here. It's right here. Is what they're talking. And the library should be right around here. So this is the whole area that they're talking about. The finalization, which I barely can say myself, area.
Okay.
So like libraries here.
So it's down by like Rustic Happiness and.
No, the other way. It's the other way.
So
So rustic happiness, nothing's gonna happen to that. It's from down.
it's going the other way.
It's where the chiropractor is and all that. Yeah, gray building, chiropractor, yeah.
Okay.
I will acknowledge you're in a very challenging position of being kind of jumping into
Yeah, she was just thrown into
where
this.
we are in this
Yeah.
process.
And so is the rest of the council,
Right, yeah.
okay? It's not just Mary, okay? The rest of the councils, they're spinning around here too, okay? Whereas in North Bend, I think the council members were actually sitting there, more of them were sitting there during the process. Am I correct on that?
At least 2 or 3, maybe. I don't
You just
remember.
had us too.
Yeah,
So it's down, it's gonna be like by Schwartz's and stuff? Okay. Okay,
and that is scheduled to come down this summer.
right.
Okay, so all of this ties in together. I mean, even the questions as far as parking is concerned,
Landscaping.
that's gotta be studied in this study.
Landscaping.
And just so we know, if we need to schedule another meeting, we can do that. But you'll see, we have a citizen here today. Before we adjourn today, I want him to be able to ask questions I know that he has. Okay, so are you good now, Mary?
Yeah. Are there any other buildings near Schwartz's that are scheduled to come down?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
That's totally different.
like, we talk about it offline. I think the reason I bring up the fact that it's challenging to just jump in at this phase is we will be happy to meet with you, as staff and whoever, just so you feel comfortable, understanding where we are in the process and to ask really pointed questions if you need to, just so you can understand, because if your job as a council member in this role is to review this and work with the rest of the council, then you obviously need to have a good understanding of it.
I guess the biggest question is where does it start and where does it end?
Mary, that was already given out to you guys by Justin back when we passed the legislation.
I don't.
Well, that's okay, but he can give you that
Okay.
information. Okay, so for today's purposes, we need to move through this document.
Okay.
Get this guy out of here.
Okay, I think we're on number 6.
Can I make one more statement, Mary? You're not alone, because I'm telling you, we passed legislation, and I'll get questions from different council members
Yeah.
about it. And they sat in there and voted on it to approve it, and they don't remember. So don't feel like this has anything to do with you. It's part of, it's a complex, it really is complex that you guys are working on.
Yeah.
And as the village administrator, he has put a ton of work into this and planning, and there's been discussions that I know you have had. So not understanding is normal, okay? That's the only way I can say it. It's just normal.
Because if I'm gonna have you answer questions on it.
Well, but that's why it's good
Yeah.
you're here, okay? And feel free to have other conversations with the Board of Zoning Appeals who sat there and been part of this process. Feel free to contact, is it okay if she contacts you directly?
Absolutely.
Whatever questions you need to have, I know Ted will help you too, and you can rediscuss it in your committee meetings. Oh, continue.
So number 6, add clarification, commercial industrial districts. I think that has to do with, what they call, performance standards for, it has to do with pollution and noise and lighting in industrial zones, which is a good, catch for Mr. Babel, that is very important to have. The model code actually has in part 4, section E, it has a performance standard section, which cover, all, pretty much the same items in the current Cleves code, especially for industrial and commercial areas. So they're not polluting or causing a racket, tons of noise. And if they are, a process for enforcement. And I'm going to go through these. So if you have questions, stop me. But unless I hear anything, I'm just going to keep moving along here. Number 7. Mark,
Yeah, so, Ted made a comment that the neighborhood business should be historical business on pages 8 and 18. Pages 8 is what outlines the, zoning districts, and I believe page 18 is the specifics for that neighborhood business district. We had a conversation in, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that we as staff think that the name neighborhood business, and that district that's outlined in the model code better fits the characterizations in that area than the historic business district did. And so from my perspective, I think that the name was the only change that was made there.
You may not have been present.
Yeah, from what I've seen in your manual, there's not a specific designation of what definition of neighborhood business.
So what we have is kind of character traits. So in our purpose and target areas, we felt what you have here better resembles the neighborhood business.
You're talking on page 18.
It is, yeah, page 18. Neighborhood business, based on, we took out there's a historic business and neighborhood business in the actual model code. We took out, or we kind of compared those two versus what you all have here, and decided that better fit the character of what we have in terms of the pictures and the text for the neighborhood business district. We had talked about that at the last meeting, one of those meetings with Ed and Justin and yourself, and I think they were on board with that as well.
I would have wrong, you were not able to attend.
Okay. But I'm trying to get if you look at the appendix maps, and you look on page 18, it says OB1, B1, it says neighborhood district. But if you look at the maps, that's not what it says.
I just hadn't had a chance to change the map. We didn't update the
I
map.
haven't gone through that. Okay, we haven't made a change.
Right, I'm just going as a clarification.
Have it on my list, good things to do.
We're still fine tuning some little things like making sure dotting our i's and crossing our t's, but we're close.
So in other words, this will get addressed later when.
Yeah, it'll all be consistent.
And, but thank you, it's now on our radar that they were different, because one said special planning, which is the current. Then they-
Kind of you can see that's kind of detail oriented.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that.
Yeah,
They've asked it.
It was painstaking, but that's okay, it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
brings us into
Number 8.
number 8, yeah.
Exactly, yes. We'll update the map. Reflect.
Does that make sense, what they're saying here?
Yep.
The appendix map in the new manual, the OB1, they're different on each map.
That the district and the text and the map aren't matching currently, which is an edit that we're working through.
And you
So
guys are gonna come back at another meeting,
absolutely.
okay, and you'll have the updated map.
Yep.
So that's basically what you're saying on number 8.
Yep, exactly.
So I think we can move on to number 9.
Yep. We create a procedure for a situation that is not covered in the use table. So the use table specifically, the consultant that worked through this spent a lot of time, and we have too as staff after the fact, trying to address any type of use situation that could arise. We understand that they're really out of left field situation that I might have to cause Ed to make an interpretation of that. And we think that if it's not listed, so our general standard is that if it's not in the use table, then it's not allowed. And
That's what I'm trying to get to. You know, we need to put if it's not on the table, it's a non-conforming use, and it would need approval by the Board of Zoning Commission.
I think it does state that in the non-conforming use section of the code, that if it's
What
not,
page are we on now, Chris?
Use table is page 9.
just the major use table.
This table here.
I think what he's saying is if it's not listed here, then how will the building address this item, whatever it is?
Can we put a footnote, like say underneath table 1, anything not covered by this table will be considered a non-conforming use and have to have approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals, something like that.
We could think, yeah, I think that might be appropriate. Let's double check team and make sure that isn't.
Or that way everything's covered. And Ed can sit there and say, well, it's not on the list, and that means I can do it. Well, now this, Ed can go to this and say, well, no, you can't do that because now you gotta go through company 101.
Yeah, my experience has always been if it's not listed, it's not, at one time, it's been due. So if it's not listed, it has to.
That's why I'm just trying to put it,
Verbalize it.
make your life a lot easier.
Always appreciate it. We can even reference our non-conforming uses section, which is part 9, later in the code.
That might be part of that, sure.
We can say, for other uses not listed, see part 9.
Okay, we'll explore the best.
Yeah, just a little footnote, asterisk, whatever.
Okay. Agricultural, so they're specifically looking at that use table. Agriculture is listed as a P, a permitted use, in the S1 special zoning district. Your thought or question or recommendation, Ed, was to remove that as a permitted use. I don't think staff has a preference either way. That's more of a policy decision by the village of Cleves to decide.
Right.
And so we would defer to the committee on the thought on that. this S1 special district, right, Mark, is very, very steep hillside areas.
Yeah, essentially non-buildable.
Non-buildable, so there's not a lot that's gonna happen in that area to begin with. But it's up to this committee or council to decide.
There aren't a ton of permitted. or
Well,
conditional
the
uses.
reason I was, your definition of S1 special deals with land erosion and stuff along those lines. That's why I figured if we removed it, we wouldn't have to deal with a situation of somebody planning on a piece of property that is there to keep erosion down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's
Do you-
something.
A question for you guys, if we remove P, would you like that to be C, conditional, or no?
I would say no.
It's not
No,
permitted.
I mean, because we have properties here that are on hillsides. And I mean, when they put in Coleman Woods, Morgan Creek went crazy.
Mhm.
I mean, just the amount of the water that came off of Coleman Woods.
Yeah.
And I'm saying me personally, I don't want to see that happen. If we can eliminate the possibility of that happening, I just think we're gonna be better off that in the long run.
Can I ask you to make sure you talk to Justin about that at some point here, to make sure he's on the same page with you?
Okay. Well, because he has this information and he hasn't got back to me
Well,
on his review.
okay, and I understand why, okay, because quite frankly, keeping his head above water is his primary concern right now. But I know we changed the game on him here. He's not hearing this today. I'm listening. I think that's just something, reaching out, phone call, discussing it with him, and making sure that when we come back on this next page, or that you and he are on the same page. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I just want to make sure that he's on board with it. Okay.
We'll also, type up our notes on if any of these items that are being considered or assigned on by this committee today, we'll type into a memo, if you will, and share that with the committee, including Justin, so he's aware at the very least of this. Thank you. Number 11, junkyard scrap metal. There's no description, so it is it is on the use table. What is it called again?
It's junkyard, junkyard scrap metal.
Mhm.
And then on page 150 as well, we have a definition. Junkyard,
So
You're saying on 150?
there's a definition on page 150 and it's in the use table.
This is one of those ones where we're late at night.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's no problem.
No problem at all.
Start one cross-eyed reading through it all.
Good job,
You
Ken.
can start messing with your head.
Okay. So number 12, permanently sited manufactured homes. There's no P or C, so it's not permitted or conditionally designated. And
no, permanently site manufactured homes. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry.
So, again, a policy decision, permanently sited manufactured homes are manufactured homes that are built off-site somewhere
Mhm.
and moved into a specific location upon its completion. But the permanently sited is important because a foundation is then built around that building. So it's not, I'm not saying it can't be moved.
Mhm.
It's not easy to relocate in the future.
Right.
So does the village want to allow those or not allow those? That's a policy decision as well. It's not.
We currently have a few in the village already.
Prefab homes?
You wouldn't know, the newer ones are really.
Right, I mean,
you wouldn't know.
The reason I kind of addressed it is our code goes back to 1968. You know, when those things first came out, they were nice.
One thing.
Now they're better, sometimes better built than regular homes.
One thing to note is that the model zoning code does specify in the definition for permanently site manufactured home is that these are structures manufactured after 1995. And so then we kind of have like an image here, if you want me to pass it around. And then kind of an example of like the more traditional, like older mobile home that's gonna be predated to that,
So
that date.
there was some federal
Yeah.
law was passed. There was one in the seventies and one in the mid-90s. Basically stating what a manufactured home was and that they're built to a specific standard.
Right.
So anything after those dates would be quote a manufactured home because it's built to that specific standard. And also permanently sided means it's got a foundation built around it.
So we would need to make that as a allowed,
if that's what you want.
Yeah.
right, because it's not listed anything on page 10. On page 10 and, table 1, there's nothing there.
Right.
It's just listed there, but there's nothing there.
It's blank, which would mean it's not allowed.
Right, so, right. Yeah, if it doesn't state it, that means you can't do it. So we would need to decide, or whatever, this body would need to decide whether we want them in here, or two, whether we want them make them underneath a conditional or allowable. And Ed, what would your suggestion be? Being you're the man and
Sure. Personally, I'd say it's conditional. I think we start looking at tiny homes, manufactured homes, things like that. People would try to cram them in sometimes. And I don't think anybody here is interested in that concept. But at that point, up here on Harrison Avenue, there's one that sits, it's on current foundation. You never know driving past it. I toured it as a real estate agent. Very nice, super nice inside.
right.
But I think it needs to be a conditional thing, where looking at each individual case and making a determination if it's a viable situation for that lot, that parcel number.
So you think it should be a conditional,
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think conditional?
and only in residential areas?
As opposed to industrial and everything else?
Yeah.
Sensible.
Okay.
I was gonna say, do you want it R1, 2, and 3?
I don't know about
would
R1. I don't know, Ed, do they make them really that big to be in an R1?
They make ones that are double wides that are like 2,000 square foot. Yeah, they make some really nice models too.
Okay.
Like some really nice models.
I mean, it
That
wouldn't
being
be,
said, it looked very out of place in Coleman Woods, obviously, and as well as in Westgate. But like,
would they look aesthetically right in Coleman?
No. No.
But they would look okay in Westgate.
I would think it'd be out of place in Westgate also.
Okay.
But down here in the village
So
area,
you're saying R3,
that's multifamily residential.
you know?
So multifamily areas. If you look at the map.
R3 would be what you're,
More dense.
More dense.
Yeah, it's called multifamily, but there's a lot of single family in there as well.
Looking at the map,
It's on the map.
yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I can see parts of it though being R2 very easily as well. So I think it complements actually more traditional than anything else. So conditional for R2 and R3, not at all for R1.
okay. Do you understand what they're,
Got it right here.
okay. Mary, does that make sense? Do you agree with what Ed's saying?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with what Ed's saying.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor here,
We can.
let's just do it. Okay.
Yep.
Conditional.
Yeah, I think they should always the best, because that would have to be only ours, yeah.
And there's that point in time, then the community have input on it also, so speaking of the area that wouldn't be aesthetically informing.
Right.
They could then say, no, thank you, we don't want that. So if they're on Westgate, you have a little alcove, a little like alcove street there, but when you first get to Westgate, they have a few little like single story, little ranch, look like prefab homes right there also.
No, they weren't pretty good.
I'm saying they look like prefab.
Right, they
homes.
do.
Yeah.
You're talking as you go up the hill on the right hand side.
Like prefab back there. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So number 13 also deals with mobile homes, and a mobile home, and this conversation isn't like an RV that you drive. A mobile home is like a manufactured home that's built off-site and pulled in. The difference between the two is a mobile home, the chassis and the wheels generally stay on the structure, and something they'll put like a skirt around it so you can't see it.
Yeah.
But it's much easier to relocate. you know, as
He's
easy
got
as
that
that.
shot still.
Yes.
So the model does not have that listed in the use table, therefore it's not a permitted use anywhere on the model or in the new code that would be. So the question is, what do we think about those? What does this committee think about that?
It is listed in here.
Oh, it is on
It's
the
in
new
the
code.
code. I sent you an additional
Oh,
email about
That's right.
it was a separate email I sent you.
did.
And there's a replacement clause in our existing code.
Oh, existing code. Oh,
So the model zoning code doesn't address it, and I think that the clause that you're talking about is referring to a mobile home being a non-conforming use, and then as the current code exists, there is an exception to where you can then replace the non-conforming mobile home with a new mobile home, and that's how it currently exists.
See if I forgot that.
That's how I understood that extra message.
Yeah, I sent that as an additional email
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, we saw it before.
Because I didn't know whether we could put a stipulation of the manufacture date of that mobile home. Because the last thing I want to do is have a mobile home come in here that was built in 1974. It looks like it's fallen down and replaced another one.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
I know as a past firefighter here in Cleves, that's kind of a lot of the reasons it was done away with.
Yeah,
But
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, the non-conforming use, let's say it's a mobile home on a property, and it goes away, you can't just pull in another one because that non-conforming component, once it leaves, is gone.
Okay.
It can't turn around and redo it somewhere else.
Exactly.
our existing codes allow for a 1 week replacement. So
You typically have a.
if you pull the old one out, you got 1 week to pull a new one in.
The model is not.
Right, and that's, right.
I think that's whether or not a discussion for the others further.
Right, and do we want, the question is, there's two questions. Do we want them in the village? Or do we want to create a hardship on somebody that, say their mobile home broke down and they need to replace another one in a week or whatever? Do we want to create a hardship to where they can't replace it for what they had? And you know, there's what, 5 or 6 of them in Cleves, probably. So you know, I'm kind of, I understand why people don't want them because it makes their neighborhood looks bad or whatever. But I understand the need for the people that have a mobile home and are living in it. They might not be able to afford a house. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation that we need to address whether we're going to allow it just as a replacement, or are we going to just flat out allow them to begin with, or we're not going to allow them at all.
If there any kind of replacement component to it, I think we would tie in a time frame for replacement to your point, but also a ownership component, being that if your trailer burned down, you have to go and replace it. It couldn't be a situation where your cousin, some investor came in and slapped another one in within a week's time frame. They're allowed to do so also. That makes sense. I add a little more catch there for it. Personally, I'm not a fan of them being in the community at all. So my mind's eye, as they phase out, that's just kind of what happens. But that's not just my decision to make.
I think if we do allow them, there should be a date on them. It have to be built after,
Production date, to his point, yeah.
it has to be built after a certain date.
I think it's 1974.
1974 is the new updated federal standard.
Can we make it,
Can we put a standard
yeah,
higher and above
yes.
that is produced prior to, or like I put in it, you know, effective, it has to be effective this date. It has to be manufactured
Yeah,
after this date of acceptance.
I don't know the answer to that. That's a legal question, I think. For an attorney, or maybe the village attorney.
Well, he's gonna be going through whatever review. So,
So the question is, let's go with the first question. Do we want to allow them as a replacement for an existing one? And if the answer to that is no, then all this is mute.
right.
So that's what needs to be discussed here.
Where are these mobile homes?
On our side.
On your side?
Yeah.
I mean, they're further down, but yeah, they're on our side.
You know. So they don't have a lot of money.
I personally don't have a problem with the replacement module. As long as we can put something in that it's, you know, I don't know whether we can put something in that's gotta be inspected by somebody or whatever. I just don't want a mobile home leaving, then a mobile home coming back in that's not up to the standards that we would like to see in our community. And that's my issue. I mean, that's why I put a clause on there, manufacturing date of such and such, the acceptance of this prior to after that.
I would say if we could put an exception, it has to go after a certain date. I'd like to see it after 74.
But the question was whether we could do that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right. And if we can't do it, then I would say no.
Well, Mary, you're talking 1974. I graduated high school in 1970. So you're talking, you want
Right.
somebody to bring in a 50-year-old?
No, I'm saying after 70, way after 74.
Right, that's why I put the
Yes.
date of acceptance of this new ordinance.
Right. And if we can't do it, then I'd say no.
Okay.
Like I'd say maybe, I don't know, 90s or 2000s or something.
You're
I mean,
still talking
We
30
don't know
years.
if we allow to do that.
Yeah.
It's a broad question.
Right. And if we can't do it, then we say no. Because, I mean,
Well, I'm not in favor of trailers at all.
Yeah.
So I understand it's a very unfortunate situation, but if they have insurance on their trailer, okay, they're gonna have money to buy another trailer. And unfortunately, I think we ought to be saying no in the village. It is unfortunate it happened, but we're trying to modernize and make our village the best it can for everyone.
right.
And I think when you have a trailer, it reduces other people's property values. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and certainly I hope that never happens. But it's unfortunate if it does, and I think it's the risk of living in a trailer. It's like it's a risk of when you live in your house. If we had a house that wasn't, let's say, unless it's grandfathered in under law, I would simply say no, don't do it.
And what's your opinion?
Echoing the mayor, I'm not a fan of the trailers in the community personally. Also thinking my other hat on as a real estate agent, it does lower property values considerably. Having a trailer next door leads to transient inhabitants a lot of times. So my experience is just speaking my experience as a code enforcement officer. People in that income bracket and that mentality tend to have a lot more issues at the property from a law enforcement standpoint. Also, the mayor's point of bringing highest and best use. I don't know that trailers are the highest and best use of parcels of land in the village. I think a lot of times with more rural settings, we will have acreage available out there and you'll see trailers out there and that's totally fine. But if we're trying to make a urban core to some degree here, I don't think that follows the.
And I'm gonna add a statement that may seem like it's unrelated, but in my mind, it's not. At the last council meeting, we had a resident, well, she's not a resident, she's a business owner. And totally unaware that the village had its own building department, its own zoning department. And one of the problems we have here in Cleves is we sort of lost our identity. Okay, and I don't want to see anything that's going to cause that to happen. I think we need to say to our residents, you have a village council, okay, you have a zoning department, you just walk right down the line. It's like the clean court and everything else we're doing. We control that. Okay, the council is a legislative body which is why it's so critical that the legislative body approved this final document, not Hamilton County. She was gonna go to Hamilton County for permits. And we're telling her, no, you get your permits here through the village. And when we started this process, one of the things that we had to question, is this gonna be our model code? Or is it gonna be Hamilton County's model code? And we strongly believe that it needed to be the Cleves, that it was specifically tailored to the needs of this village. And I haven't changed my position on that.
That hasn't changed. To clarify, Hamilton County is assisting Cleves through this process of modernizing their zoning code.
And we appreciate it because there's not been any charge to us at all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don, what's your opinion?
I have to leave at 4. I have to leave at 4. So,
Okay, again, what's your opinion on it?
you know, it's a tough one. It really is. And, when we have a lot of vacant lots, people will pull trailers on there, and I'd like to see them go. Because usually there's a lot of trash with those. And we do have them in the building. We have them right now. So it's tough. If I had a trailer and it burnt down and I couldn't replace it, I would probably sell the property. And, you know, go to another, you know, trailer park maybe, or, you know, figure something out. But I'd like to see them go too, because usually when they have that, you know, not everybody that has a trailer does that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'd like to see them go.
You want gone?
I do.
Got it.
There is, if you go down 128, there is a trailer park. I think it's called Westbrook.
Yeah, yeah.
There's 2 trailer parks.
Yeah, and you can look when you see it. I mean, I don't think it belongs in Cleves.
And if you take a look at the police reports for Cleves, Ohio, which is unfortunate, because Dale sent me a zoning, not a zoning, but a zip code map. And Cleves is huge. Okay, and almost every bad thing that happens, people will say, there's Cleves again, and it's not Cleves.
Yeah.
It's in Miami Township.
And we got a bad name, we got a bad name.
Whitewater Township too.
Mary?
I would like to see no new trailers come to Cleves.
Okay.
If we decide that they can rebuild if they burn it down, I would like to see a newer trailer. If we can't do a newer trailer, then I don't want an older trailer brought in.
So we don't know.
This might
Right.
be one of those.
Exactly.
We're gonna have
It's
to
gonna
take
have to be
the council.
answered.
Yeah.
My personal feeling, Mary, is that we need a clean break.
Yes.
Okay, if
Yes,
it burns down,
then it's
I
fine.
don't really want to see another trailer coming in, no matter how new it is.
So that's one, I think we're better off going to council.
I agree.
Separate subject before, it's along the same subject, but different. What have you heard about these, tractor trailer homes? What do they call them?
Tiny homes.
Tiny homes.
Yeah, container homes.
Container homes.
We did approve that though, if it was like in a certain yard.
So I think like storage container homes, tiny homes, any of these types of things, there are no minimum square footage requirements in the model version of the code, meaning it has to be a certain size. The hang up for those types of structures is in the building code. It's very challenging to create a storage container home that meets the current state of Ohio building code standards. I'm not saying it can't be done.
Right, I remember we talked about.
My understanding is it's challenging.
Okay, so for simplicity's sake, we should probably think about putting a section in the map that says no container homes, no storage container homes.
My opinion would be, don't address them at all. And if it meets the building code standard, which is gonna be a challenge, then it's probably an adequate structure.
I think we put it under C, didn't we?
But that's similar to a
We're talking about accessory dwelling units.
You're like talking like mother-in-law.
That's different.
Yeah, okay.
So storage container would be like like the back of an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
Like that part of that, they come on and off in storage yards. Some places, some people have taken those
Mhm.
and put 5, 8, 10, and 12 of those together to create a structure to live
I
in.
know
They look really nice too.
There's some cool ones. So,
But there's some safety issues there when you start stacking these things on top of each other,
Cutting walls out.
or cutting walls out of it. Like, is it a safe structure to actually live in? And that's where the building code is like really strict with those.
Yeah.
But just to look at that, that's similar to a mobile home.
no, I would, it's really, really nice.
Yeah.
But there's really nice mobile homes.
I know, but it's not what it's saying, it's the same.
I don't know, I don't like that.
I would, if we're addressing it, I just assume address it now. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. I'd say for say no to mobile homes, we say no to those homes.
Maybe we should put
Council.
Yeah,
council.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it, we'll leave it up to council for,
Council,
for
Council.
put it on.
mobile homes and, or.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 14, we current in the model code, I think, have schools listed as primary schools being allowed in the floodplain of the special one. The rest, it had questions that why, and we agree, so probably remove that from those two zones. Oh,
So I don't know, we didn't come to a conclusion
Wind energy conservation systems, I guess that would be like a
Everybody knows.
Windmills.
windmill, okay.
Windmills.
Fun way to say windmill.
Not doing sales, so
We got removed, so.
What's that?
not doing
Yeah,
sales.
you have to remember.
So, well, I guess the model has it listed as permitted and right, it probably should be conditional. Yep, so that's a good catch, thank you. Number 16, the general development regulations, should there be a minimum standard as stated in the old code for area requirements for
Just going
dwelling?
back to container homes and all that kind of stuff, so I say it goes to council on that one also.
Which one?
This kind of ties into the tiny homes, container homes. So I think I go to council.
We
on that
we
also.
have concerns that if there's a four area, so we're trying to get away in our model in terms of being simplistic, it's not simplistic, but easy to understand for the public, getting away from four area ratios and complicated calculations that either the public's making or Ed is trying to, as a zoning official, trying to calculate those types of things. And so we're trying to get away from those kind of terminology in general in the model, and then specifically on minimum building size. I think there could be some Fair Housing Act issues with stating a structure that has to be a minimum square footage in terms of a residential structure. So our recommendation would be not to include those things.
I think what I was getting at was the size of a bedroom.
That's covered in the building code, I think. But the building code will require, there's a minimum square footage requirement for a bedroom, ingress and egress, safety requirement, ventilation, heat, windows, those kinds of things. So I think this building code should cover a lot of that.
There's quite a bit as I look at this guide ahead.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not sure we're gonna be able to get through all of it.
It's fine.
So my
You're pretty fast.
well, I was gonna get through number 18 and then bring up how we want to proceed after that. So let's finish that and then we'll have a discussion about moving. Number 17, additional use and height regulations and exceptions. Pavement in the required residential uses. Ted suggested adding some language that gravel is not a permitted driveway type, it's got to be paved.
Wasn't that in there before?
So in the model, section 4, excuse me, part 4, section C, number 9, prohibits the use of gravel, so.
But that's no change in the village. My understanding is we could never put in gravel
The
driveway.
current code does not allow it. It seems though it is covered, it does say the same thing in the model, so it's not allowed. I don't think Ted saw it, and so he was bringing it up like it should say it, and we're responding and saying it does.
It's already there. And I think that's important because we have people right now who have gravel driveways, okay? And I think there's been some concerns expressed about those gravel driveways. And I think we need to get back into enforcing, okay, what, you know, I think there was one that was put up in Westgate. There's one right on, two of them, I think, were on East State. So, I mean, it's happening right now.
We have one on Tymea, it just happened 2 months ago.
I'm sorry.
2 months ago, we had one on Tymea.
Okay, did not know that.
Well, the model does not allow for gravel, and that is the current code does not allow for gravel driveway.
Okay.
Page 50.
Page 50.
And, it does, the model or the current code does not retroactively go back and say, you had a gravel driveway for like 20 years, now you can't. It's gonna continue, the model's not, nothing in the zoning code stuff is going to go back and fix that.
Right.
But moving forward, any new construction or new development will have to have absolutely a paved driveway.
I have another question I'm gonna ask on this because, and this is sort of sticking in my throat right now, and I'm sure it is Mr. Babel's throat. Over on Mount Nebo, okay, we had Duke put in a gravel driveway. Okay, that's causing us some issues. And that is unfinished business we need to deal with. So I'd like to have your sense, because I know what Duke's attitude is, they can do whatever the hell they want in our village.
I do not know what the state laws are surrounding public utility and their requirements to follow zoning regulations.
Is there a way you can come back with this and give us that information?
I can definitely ask, we have a zoning, the head zoning official with the county, Brian, he's very knowledgeable, and I'm sure in his 20+ years of zoning, he's run across this once or twice. We can ask, but I don't know.
I'd appreciate it if you would.
I know public utilities, so Duke, sewer, water, and can get special exemptions from zoning things, so they can do what they need to do.
Where do they get it from? Do they get it from Hamilton County or do they get it from the village?
I don't think they need it at all. It's a state law that would say they don't have to do these.
Okay.
I don't know.
Building
that for sure.
something across the
That's what I was told.
Yeah,
They can do what they want to do.
I'm not saying that's the case. I think there may be state law. So it's not nothing the county's doing, nothing the village is doing. The state of Ohio has given them that. I'm not saying it's the case. Well, we can do some research and let you know.
I appreciate it.
I don't want to speak
It's
for that.
pretty hard to explain to a resident why they can't do a gravel driveway when Duke says, if I want to, we can put it right in Coleman Woods.
They can.
Yeah, I know, it's not right, but I understand.
If state law protects them from that side, I don't know what to do. That's an attorney question, of course, for Ohio Village. Number 18. Sidewalks used at the main egress in all residential districts that terminate into the property driveway. The driveway on the side of the egress shall be widened by an additional 2 feet. We were a little confused about this. I know we talked about it.
The reasoning is if, okay, say, this is my house,
Yeah.
right? And my sidewalk comes out like this and goes like this into my driveway.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll use a perfect example of my house. My house comes down like this, my driveway, my steps come out like this, go to the driveway. and there's like a wall here.
Yeah.
You cannot walk out to the street along, if you have a car parked there.
Okay.
So that's widening that area
An ingress, egress.
2
from
feet.
the garage.
so there's enough walk space. Now, I solved the problem, I put another walkway, but Westgate subdivision is like, I don't know whether Coleman's like that, whether the house, the sidewalks go into the driveway.
Yeah, mine does.
Right, so it's,
I think I understand what you're saying. Okay, let us think about that a little more.
it just makes it a lot easier in the beginning when the house was built to have that extra walk space.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially when you get old people like me stumbling all over the place.
Okay, I don't think we quite understood what you're saying. We did look at the street view and trying to get an idea. I think I have a better understanding. So let's look at that a little more closely.
Chris, can we move on over to? Mr.
Yeah, so
Oppenheimer?
that's into part 3. In the interest of time, it is 3:20 now, so, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Yeah, I'd like to, before we leave today, I'd like to schedule another meeting not very far out, okay? So this can be completed. And, I think, Dale, you had some questions you wanted to ask, and I think now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I've got some questions about, your item number 15303. Has to do with mining.
This is the current zoning.
I'm sorry?
The current zoning.
Yes,
Okay.
current, and then I'll also be referring back to the old one as well. I read it, and there's a lot of references in this proposal, which is really just a rewrite of an old ordinance that the village passed back in 1967, which is good. There's a lot of references made to reclamation. My experience with reclamation has been construction projects where pipe is put in the ground. The contractor, developer is required to come back and compact the dirt, put grass seed in, or if the driveway is torn up, they have to fix the driveway. Street job, reclamation is redoing the street. But the description and what you guys have and what was the previous ordinance kind of dances around reclamation. I think I looked up the definition in Webster's, and in reclamation, they talk about returning it to being farmable land or to be able to build a building on or a structure. Cleves doesn't have a lot of areas left where there's going to be much mining anymore. There's just not that much left. I guess it's possible down the road. There are a few places, but one place where we have had mining, it was permitted through the state of Ohio, and on the permit it says, "Do you have? Is it authorized by the community you're in?" And they stated yes. The village of Cleves, Mike Ray Hall approved it. The permit's for 15 years. But you start reading this regulation. I mean, it talks about reclamation has to occur pretty quick, within a year, I think, in some cases.
After the permit is expired.
I'm sorry?
After that permit expires.
Well, I guess that's interpretation. I read it to mean once they've dug and mined it, then they have a year to reclaim it.
Okay.
There's also the filling or landfill issue. Cleves doesn't address that. With landfills, it's responsibility in our area anyway, the Hamilton County Health Department. They're responsible for the landfill behind Kroger's, and I mean, it's sanctioned by the state. The state gives them the authority to do that.
What is a landfill? Is that, are you meaning like garbage disposal landfill?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, there are different flavors of landfills.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, that's all, so I can understand.
The one behind Kroger's is, building materials mainly, but
Okay, okay.
I guess we have one in the village that is clean hard fill. Specifically, broken concrete, asphalt, brick.
Okay.
Um, and the health department also requires the village for it to be authorized by the whatever area you're in. I don't know that that was done. It's been ongoing for years and years and years. I don't know if how recently they've got approval. I guess, does the village need some sort of coding language that deals with landfills? For one issue is, if you look at the old zoning rules and regulations, section 400,
Okay.
use regulations, landfill or actual gravel pits, sand, gravel, topsoil extraction can be only, I assume this is conditional uses requiring board approval, but it's in a floodplain, F1 floodplain. Can you have a gravel pit or a landfill in a floodway?
In a floodway?
Yeah, it was always my understanding that you can't do much of anything in a floodway.
I think the floodway is the actual, my understanding of a floodway is the actual location where the water is flowing.
It's a reach.
Okay.
For, yeah, it goes a little beyond the.
I don't know the answer to that. The floodways are, the actual floodway, I think, is regulated by the Army Corps of Engineers and lots of places. I don't know the specific details though.
Yeah, I've got I think I brought it with me. I can show you. But so anyway, I asked the health department, I said, if the village were to ever create some kind of zoning language, I said, could you help with that and maybe provide some examples? And the health department says, no, that's not their cup of tea. You got to check with county soil and conservancy or whatever. But I went online and looked at their rules and regulations, and they don't address landfills at all. Here's a floodway is the hatched area, and then you can see the Great Miami River here.
Sure.
So it's fairly extensive.
Yeah, yeah.
That's from FEMA.
Sure.
So I guess my question is, how can the village regulate and control not just mining, but landfills? I read what you guys wrote, and I guess things would have to go to the board for approval. How's that gonna work with the village? Is that gonna be the Board of Zoning deal?
That's probably a better question for you to ask Justin than me at this point, for a number of reasons. I think he's more versed in it than I am. But I understand, and you've not gone into where this is happening, but there's stuff going on that, there was a lawsuit a number of years ago and a consent decree that's being ignored. Okay, and it's one of the things our council and our village administrator is gonna have to deal with at some point. But, that initially dealt with mining. Okay, your question is landfill, and it is not addressed in our code, our zoning code. The question there is, should it be? I think it should, personally. I don't think we should be approving any type of landfill within village boundaries. And I would also say future boundaries, because the village of Cleves needs to figure out how they can expand if we're gonna survive. So that village boundary could go out, okay? And whatever we do with this particular code, I know the maps need to change, but we need to be looking to the future and different possibilities. So I'm not sure we're gonna get an answer to this today, but at least it's on the radar screen.
Definitely.
There also needs to be some oversight. For instance, what was submitted to the state, part of the mining area and then thereafter fill area is in the floodway. And like I said, I don't know that there's much at all you can do in the floodway legally. EPA doesn't like that, or OEPA. But who's watching? Who's paying attention?
Well, it would seem to me that that's another job for Superman to my left. Somebody from the village has to be monitoring what's going on. If it's not him, it's gonna have to be the village administrator who you've referenced, signed off on a permit. Quite frankly,
I don't know if they did or not. You know, we don't know that.
I thought you said he did.
Well, the permit says he approved it, but
All right, well,
did that happen? I don't
the
know.
question boils down, okay, you know as well as I do, Cleves was the wild, wild west. People did whatever the hell they wanted to do. Our former village mayor, they legally were supposed to have a board of zoning appeals, but they didn't. Same thing with the planning commission, but they didn't, okay? In the end, and I'm gonna say it for everybody at home, the people who really need to be watching what's going on are the citizens themselves. And if they don't like something, they see something, you always hear, you see something, say something. It's what citizens must do if they care about their village. And you need to have a village council that's receptive to that, which I think we currently have. Okay, we have a very receptive village council. And it's important for our citizens to continue to elect and re-elect those types of individuals instead of ones who silently don't say a word. That's not happening anymore in the village of Cleves. They're now talking, they're questioning, citizens are questioning. That's a good thing. I mean, I get questions all the time. So, but yes, I think ultimately that's something this council's gonna have to wrestle with, pass legislation, and that will also involve our village attorney. So I think getting it on the radar screen today is a good thing, not only for us in this room, but also anybody who's watching at home.
Well, you bring up a good point. Landfills are regulated in the model, the new code, the new version of the code. I think we can look at that definition. Does that include fill? It obviously includes like a garbage landfill.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think that's the highest, at least our interpretation of it, but makes a good point about the fill, the like concrete and brick debris being used. So we'll do a little research and see if how inclusive that definition is in the model and get some answers.
Okay. Before we adjourn here today, like I said, there's a tight time frame. I don't know what Justin's time frame is, but I think we ought to reschedule, and Chris, you can look at your schedule and get back to Justin.
Okay.
And I would say within 7 to 10 days from now, we need to have another meeting.
I'll go with that as long as it's around 2.
Do we have a date?
Make sure you make it 1 o'clock, Chris.
Well,
I'm teasing, bro.
I don't know, we don't know Justin's schedule, but I think it would be great if he's available, so.
Well, and that's why we're gonna let him watch this, and you can
Change it.
suggest some dates right now, and he can get back,
What about next Tuesday at 2:00?
next Tuesday at 2 o'clock,
Or,
tentatively.
yeah, we couldn't do Wednesday. or Thursdays. Tuesday's probably the best day, actually.
What about the rest of you guys?
I'm good, I'm good with that. That would be February 3rd. February 3rd, 2:00. Perfect.
Pending Justin's availability.
Okay.
And I'm sure he'll
At
be
2
back in
o'clock,
touch.
right?
I can't answer because I don't know what's available.
Well, I'll send out a meeting invitation, probably first thing tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and that way,
You have all our,
things,
I
right?
know, do you have, I don't know if you have Mary's.
Oh, I probably don't have yours.
Did you all receive, did you all get what I sent you last time? I write your emails down
Yeah,
I usually just wait till they post something on.
yeah, but I got some.
Chris, I have another question. This is just not about that. But, you used to, when I was actually publishing the Three Rivers News Dispatch, you used to get that. Are you getting our village updates that we do now or not?
I follow my Facebook.
Well, that was disabled, okay? It's just come back. I don't have it cleaned up yet. Everything was hacked. Okay, so they shut me down from November on. And I gotta get through the Three Rivers News Dispatch. I've got 3,000 followers to get rid of before I open that back up. But we do have an email weekly newsletter. You could send me an email with your email.
Okay, we have the, yes,
And I'll send you some house ones too.
On your phone? Yeah,
Actually, if you go on our website, okay, there's links on there that you can go in, that one.
And then Ed, I have your notes, since about it.
We'll go through line by line.
I hope it quickens the process instead of
Sounds like a way of the
try to send out an email. Numbers on that. That sounds something I could do. Send out an email to the council members on the trailer situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was all the way.
Yeah, if you could, back there, it should say end stream, if you would hit that end stream or end this meeting at, almost, 20 minutes till 4. And I want to thank everybody for staying this late.
Yeah, because I think I'm a phone booth anymore.